Welcome to Pathways to Greatness, where we explore the journeys of exceptional individuals who have achieved remarkable success in their fields. Whether you're an aspiring athlete, a business leader, or simply someone striving to reach your full potential, this podcast is your guide to unlocking the greatness within you. Join us as we dive into inspiring stories, practical strategies, and the mindset shifts that can transform your path to greatness. Let's embark on this journey together. Hey, and welcome back to Pathways to Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Forrester, and today's solo episode, yet another one, and then there's going to be a flurry of guests, so I'm very excited about those. This topic that I wanted to cover tonight is it's important to me, and it's also something that I struggle with, and we'll get into that as we go, and I think most of us do. So today's discussion is pride cometh before the fall. So whether it's in sports, business, if it's entertainment, if it's just roundabout life, pride gets in our way. And you see in society so much that you have Pride Month about this and then Pride Month about that, and just a lot of stuff around pride. And when you look into the Bible, pride is a sin because of what it manifests from, because then you think that you're deserving of things. And I know we've talked about that as we've had other episodes and discussed, where I'm really trying to eliminate the word deserve out of out of my vocabulary, unless it's determined based on what we deserve as sinners. And then what God's grace presents us is a gift. It's not deserve. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything good enough to deserve something. Even all the things that you go through in life is you earn things. You don't deserve them. So what we want to do is we want to dig into what the Bible says about pride and then how we can guard our hearts. So it's not just about me discussing pride and the challenges that we all face with it, but how do we navigate through that? How do we overcome that? And how do we strive on a daily basis with the proper tools to be more successful in overcoming pride? So what does the Bible say about pride? So I'm going to read from Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. Another key scripture, Proverbs 11:2. Proverbs is just full of amazing wisdom, and you could take tons of the verses, leave the Bible chapter verse off, and people would quote that all day long and put anonymous, and then people would make money. But anyways, Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. James 4:6. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. 1 Corinthians 10:12. So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. So key point, pride isn't confidence, it's self-centeredness. Pride elevates yourself over God and others. And the fall isn't always immediate, but it's inevitable when pride rules. So there's so many stories that I could tell you about my life of where pride does definitely come before destruction. And I think the pride, when we talk about self-centeredness, and it's not confidence, it's cockiness, it's arrogance, is that we let our guard down and we allow that thing to become our identity and that thing to overtake our purpose in life. And as I shared earlier, I'm going to go through some of the topics and tactics that you're going to need to help overcome that. But the thing that worries me the most is when I look back at my life, and if you look at society, is that when pride elevates itself over God and others. And for me, the others part is much more evident to our human eyes than many times that it's like, well, am I really elevating myself over God? And you could go back and forth about that and what that looks like and justify it and create excuses. Many times, though, it's very obvious about putting yourself above others, because then you're saying, hey, I'm different. I'm better. I'm proud of the things. And that's it's going to be interesting, because I was thinking earlier today, sorry, I just digressed, is I feel like I can say that I'm proud of something that I've done, of my performance. I'm proud of that I stuck to it, and that I'm happy that maybe that's a word that we should use instead of saying proud, is that I'm happy that I stuck to the eating plan that I wanted to, that I stuck to the workout plan that I wanted to, that I stuck to being able to save money and pass a test and do some of those other things that become difficult. But I think pride overall is when it overtakes and you start to create the arrogance, like it said, not confidence, but arrogance over other people and over opportunities. Because I know in work, I used to be, my heart was in the right place, but I was coming from a damaged point where I needed, like, I felt like that my wisdom to help other people was far greater. And I, many times, and I remember the feeling that I was just disgusted and like, I can't believe that they wouldn't take the help that I'm offering. That's pride. And that's something that we have to make sure we keep in check. You should have a genuine heart to say, hey, look, I really want to help you. If you're not willing to receive it, I get it. It's that point. It's pride that you feel like that you're above taking any recommendations. But I think some of those people probably didn't receive it because of the way I was trying to offer it or jam it down their throat, where I needed to have a genuine heart to help, which I did. But again, I was coming from it, doing it in a way that I wanted to build myself up as being wise and smart and helping people, when I should have just helped regardless of the outcome. And I don't know if I just rambled a whole bunch on that one, but this topic is tough for me because I've always, it's that pride and humility. And we read some of those verses about God appreciates and he loves it says, when pride comes, then disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. And so many times I'm not willing to brag about myself or market myself because I label that as being humble, when in all realities that I'm fearful of rejection. If I put myself out there, someone may give me feedback that I don't want to hear. So many times I'm masking my humility or my fear through the word humility. So we can be confident, we can be sure of ourselves, and still be humble, just not cocky and arrogant. Okay, so biblical examples of pride and the fall. So the number one, I'm curious if you would think, if they give three examples, and there's a lot of examples in the Bible, but the number one that I think is number one is Lucifer. Isaiah 14:12 through 15. I'm not going to read that one in its entirety, but pride led rebellion and his fall from heaven. So go back and read that message, because that was where he felt like he was bigger than God, greater than God, more um, just more than who his creator was. And then God cast him out. And then ever since then, he's battling to try to prove to himself that God was wrong, he was right. And he uses us against God. He uses us to try to hurt God. And I feel like when I take it from that perspective, that I'm being used, makes me want to bow up and push back and say, no, I'm not going to be part of your plan to try to get back at God, where I'm a child of God. I believe in him. I accept his grace of forgiveness. I accept his grace to be one of his chosen children, and I'm not going to let the devil get after me on that one. So think about it from that perspective. The next one was King Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 4:28 through 37. Great story, great example. His pride in his own power caused God to humble him through madness. The key verse is verse 37. Those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. So you will be humbled at some point. Your legs will get knocked out from underneath you if you're proud. So we look at a lot of these big public figures in society today that think that they're above the law, that they think because of the money that they have, the notoriety that they have, that they deserve everything. And when in realities, how many times do we see them publicly come crumbling down? And most of those people, if you ever watch any interviews or listen to any interviews of some of these people who came crashing down because of pride, you see humility. You see that most of them understand what happened, what they did, and that they just got caught up in the whole thing. My son and I just watched The Hobbit. Highly recommended if you like fantasy. And the scene that reminds me of this, and this is more covetousness of money, but it's when Thorin was finally got into um, the castle under the mountain, and it was full of gold, and it got to this point where he was so just drawn into that money that his arrogance because of having the money and the desire to keep the money made him feel like he was greater than everyone else, that he could turn his back on his family, he could turn his back on his friends because of the wealth that he had within the mountain. And so how many times do we feel like that because of talent, because of money that we may have, because of a job status, that we allow pride to overcome just being logical? And when you watch the movie, by the end, he snaps out of it because he listens to all the things that people were telling him, that this wasn't you before. Why, how have you become this person? And that the money, he heard himself, some of the words that he was saying, that no one would take this from him. This was his. That's all pride. That's all arrogance. And by the end, I'm sure I won't spoil it because it's over a decade old, but he comes to his senses and then ends up becoming heroic, apologizing, but he dies in the end. So there is a fall that happens even to him. So the third is Peter. And I really like this example. And I try to put myself in Peter's shoes, because if here's a guy that walked with Jesus on a regular basis and still struggled, still battled. So Luke 22:31 through 34, and then also verse 54 through 62. Again, that's Luke 22:31 through 34 and 54 through 62. In this example, he declared he'd never deny Jesus. Then he denied him 3 times. So his arrogance and his confidence, quote unquote, in himself, saying, I will never do that, then he did it 3 times. And he knew it. As soon as he did it, he was devastated. And so even well-meaning pride, again, his position is, I will never deny you. It can blind you to the situation. And I think that if he would have been more protective and said, Jesus, I will do everything in my human power to never deny you. And not that gives you an out, but it gives you, to me, a sense of purpose of, that you have to give everything that you have. But if you're overconfident, you're going to play down to your level. Again, we see these examples in sports all the time, is when you have a more talented team become so overconfident that they let their guard down, and a less talented team who is wanting to fight, wanting to win, has nothing to lose, that they come in and say, look, all we want to do is play our best. And they end up playing their best. And sometimes they'll upset even the greatest teams that are around. So all that being said, is you have to protect yourself. You have to understand that you aren't the best at everything. You may be really good, but guaranteed somebody somewhere is just a little bit better. And they may not be always better, but they may be better that day. So if you have humility and confidence and prepare, then you'll know that you're going to give your best every single time that you show up, or try to give your best. So we are human. So the next one is, how does pride show up today? So here's some examples that we're going to look at in leadership. So refusing correction or feedback. So in the sports world that I'm very prevalent in with my kids and the coaching that I do, this comes very, very frequent. You have so many coaches that are so proud of the position that they're in that they refuse to take any feedback. They refuse to take correction. They refuse to be developed. The best leaders are the best learners. I think that's a John Maxwell statement. If not, I got something that like that from him. So leaders learn, and that's showing humility. It's showing eagerness to know that you have room to work. And so if you're in a leadership position and you're not if you're refusing feedback, or you hear feedback and then dismiss it, even if it's not coming from a credible source, you need to digest it and say, okay, there may be a shred of truth to that. I may not take it to heart and fully embrace it, but there's probably some sort of a truth. What can you gain from that? In sports, again, I gave you the example a second ago, is believing you're above the team or the rules. So to me, it's the thing that bothers me in sports today. One of the many things, it's the lack of respect for officials and coaches. So one, you have to earn respect. I totally understand it, but the disregard to the position that these referees are in, that these players feel like they're above the rules. If they hit somebody, they whine and complain for like 10 minutes. It's just, they're not going to change their mind. If anything, they're going to dig in more and they're going to start calling every little thing possible. But if it happens, move on. It happened. You can be aggravated. Trust me, I've watched plenty of games that I'm aggravated with the officiating, but there's nothing I can do about it. So all you can do is say, okay, take a deep breath, next play, and then just keep going and keep going. And sooner or later, hopefully it'll work itself out, but sometimes it will cost you the game. In a relationship, unwillingness to apologize or admit wrong. Parents, this is for you. I know we talk a lot about this with relationships, with couples, with friends. Those tend to be easy, but how willing are you to apologize and admit wrong to your kids? When have you blown up? You've had a temper tantrum, you've snapped at them because you don't feel good, and then you just let it go. That's when you need to go and discuss what happened and how you need to do a better job at managing your emotions. Because we, as parents, we see our kids when they don't feel good, they snap, they talk back, but we haven't provided them the right example because we haven't explained to them why we even can do this. And now we can make a connection and help them work through that. So equipping them to say, look, if you don't feel good, that's zero excuse for you to be ugly and mean. But as an adult, if you do the same thing and you don't feel good, that's no excuse for you to snap at people. And so often we do because we don't feel good. We may be tired, but please remember, not an excuse. You can still respond to somebody in a nice, polite, cordial way, even when you don't feel good. And then spiritually, thinking you don't need God. I hope that many of the people that listen to this podcast are believers, that never comes across your mind. It may, and I can say honestly, I've never thought that I didn't need God, but my actions probably showed that I thought I didn't need God. I didn't need his redemptive power. I didn't need to stay on the narrow path. I didn't need to do the things that he's asked me to do and commanded us to do. So I may not have thought it, but my actions reinforce that. So where in your life might pride be hiding under the surface? Dig, pray the prayer of, God, please reveal to me the areas in my life that pride is overcoming me and causing me to not live the life the way he would want me to. So, how do you guard against pride and cultivate humility? So, one is daily prayer for humility. So, Micah 6:8, walk humbly with your God. Invite accountability. Proverbs 27:6, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Number 3, remember the source of all blessings. 1 Corinthians 4:7. What do you have that you did not receive? And number 4, I love this one. Acts of service, serve others intentionally. John 13:14. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash another's feet. So if Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, was willing to wash his disciples' feet, we should be also so humble and so gracious to want to do the same thing, whether physically or figuratively, with our friends and with other people that we don't even know. So that's the humble heart. That is putting others in a position of respect, in a position of love, and not reverence, but I was going to say reverence, but just respect. I think that's the word that I wanted to have. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about that you need to emphasize that God's grace is greater than our pride. So this week, ask God to show you any area where pride is creeping in and be courageous enough to lay it down. When you pray that prayer, you will have something that comes up that shows you pride. That's what he's asking you to set aside. What's taking more of your time away from God? What do you need to do to get back into the things that you need to do to create humility, to create confidence, to create what you know that God's purpose is for you? In our church service, we've had a series about the Holy Spirit, and today was around your purpose and your portion and the things that you want to do. Is we know the things that we want to do, but sometimes we don't know the gifts that God has given us because it's just so loud, and we stay busy, we stay moving, and we also have these, because of pride, we have these expectations of, I want this grand purpose and this grand gift. And your gift may be the ability to cook and have amazing bedside manner. One of the things that we did as a family when the kids were young is, I like to cook, is that we volunteered to be on the meal train. So if anybody ever needed anything, if somebody was sick, somebody had some issue within their family that they needed meals brought in, then the church would reach out and we would all sign up for a meal. And to me, that is such a wonderful thing to be able to do when someone needs it, because just the gratitude that they have over making, just taking them salsa, a bag of chips, and tacos. And it's just because they know that somebody cared enough to stop what they were doing in their day to take something over there. Now, is that something that you would put on your tombstone? I don't know. But it's not something that you would probably call the news about. Say, well, Jeff brought us chicken tacos tonight. But that family needed that. That family will remember that forever. And we've had families a decade or so later say, hey, I remember when you brought that stuff over to me and how much it meant while I was sick, while my parent had died, or something to that effect. So think about, and that's where pride, you put that to the back seat, is, do you feel like that your purpose has to be this grandiose idea? I've been battling with this for the past couple of years of, is my purpose my profession? Is my purpose that I want it to be? Is it because it's what God has gifted me to? Or do I want this purpose that I feel is my purpose to also be something that gets me recognized? That's pride right there. So Am I willing to do that, whether I'm acknowledged or paid for that particular purpose? And it's something that I'm growing through that and understanding that there's things that I need to do. Doesn't mean that I need to stop doing what I'm doing. It just may mean that I'm meant to do this for a select few people that need it more than anything else, that in the long run, I will help them stay on track or get back on track to the life that they have, and that my purpose is to be there for them at that moment. And that's what God has done. It may not be the thing that I do forever. So when you're praying this prayer and you're really thinking about where pride is creeping in, is just ask yourself, are the things that I'm doing coming from a genuine place? Am I being the good neighbor because it's important to be the good neighbor, or is it because I need to do something for someone else? If you're speaking to your kids a certain way, is it coming out of a place of hurt that you have because you want to elevate yourself? If you're at work and you do the same thing, and I mean, it could go on and on of the examples, but just think through that of what you feel like you need to do. And so as you go through that, is, have a short prayer asking for humility, asking for a teachable spirit, and then the strength to serve like others like Christ. That's such a big one, is if you can learn to serve others like Christ did, you're going to live an amazing life, and everybody around you is going to live a great life as well. So here's your call to action. So I want you to share this episode with somebody who needs it. We all struggle with pride. You may know someone who needs to hear this. And so be bold, share it, and say, hey, look, there's some stuff in here that Jeff said that really impacted my life, and I think it'll help you. Reflect and journal one area where pride has caused a struggle. If you're a regular listener to this and if you have my cell phone, shoot me a text. If you want to respond on Instagram, I want to help. I want to be an accountability buddy for you, that if you have something, an area, I'd love to pray for and help you with that, and just through prayer. And it may help me as well. And so as we go through all of these things, I hope these solo episodes have been helpful, not only from the topic, but also the biblical reference. And I'm doing my best to try to keep the Bible as more of a mainstay in my daily activity than just my morning Bible reading and then off I go. Is I really want to find the evidence, find the path of how I can live a good life and put pride away and still be able to love others. So I hope you do too. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And with that, I'm Jeff Forrester, and this is Pathways to Greatness podcast. Unleash your potential with Cometh Consulting. Are you a student athlete striving for greatness? Do you want to enhance your mental performance and elevate your game? At Cometh, we specialize in mental performance and success coaching tailored for student athletes, parents, and coaches. Our expert coaches provide personalized strategies to boost confidence, improve focus, and achieve your goals both on and off the field. Don't just play the game, conquer it. Visit ComethConsulting.com and schedule your free consultation today. Take the first step towards success. Thanks for joining us on the Pathways to Greatness podcast. We hope that today's conversation inspired you to take steps towards your own greatness. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit. Actually, share it with 3 people that you might think it might benefit. Until next time, keep pursuing your passions and carving your own path to greatness. Take care.